American University in Bulgaria.
So guys, thank you for coming. We understand that you all have midterms and classes and we appreciate you being here. This event is part of the Conversations with GMC that we organized from Society of Professional Journalists, the AUBG chapter. You can go on Facebook, check us out, and follow our event. I'm going to let Professor Jürgen introduce our guest, who came especially for his lecture here. So yes, I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you for joining us. I'm pleased to present you Jürgen Gangoly. Jürgen is managing director and owner of Skills Group, which is one of the biggest PR agencies, PR consultancies in Austria. He's also a member of Association of PR Agencies in Austria. He's also a member of the board of directors of ECO, and he's one of the best consultant and specialist in the area of public affairs, high-end consulting, social media, scuba diving, and so you can ask him questions about all these topics and areas. And skills groups are part of Fleischmann-Hillert partnership.
Affiliate.
Affiliate. Yeah, we are affiliate. We are affiliate of Fleischmann-Hillert in Austria and Bulgaria. Of course, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here. We had a sort of 3 hours lecture this morning, and I'm happy that some faces I see again here. So you will hear some things again, but we will have more time to talk to each other and to answer questions. Thanks for the very kind introduction. What do we have prepared for this evening? I have shortened my lecture from this morning down to some 20-25 minutes to give you a sort of overview. What are the changes in society which really were brought with the rise of social media, and what does it mean for us as PR people? A short introduction, and then I'm here to answer all your questions. As Alexander has said, I'm active in national and international PR organizations, dealing a lot not only with social media, but also with questions like ethics in PR, what is changing with on the ethics floor with all the paid media raising into our businesses. What is we had a discussion on that this morning as well. What is the relationship between bloggers and professional PR, etc., etc. So we can talk about the whole industry, whatever you are really interested in. At the beginning, what changed within the last 10 years, and what really changed the profession of being a PR consultant and communicating with the general public. If you read it like here, it sounds really easy. And what changed? People are able to communicate via the internet amongst each other. Everybody who has a computer and internet access, of course, can publish without any special technical knowledge. This is what changed within the last 10 years only. Before, I'm doing internet online stuff since the early 1990s. Before, you needed technicians, programmers, designers, special computers, high-end computers to publish in the internet. You could earn a lot of money with it until the end of the 90s, I would say. I would say this time is over. Now everybody can publish. You can open up a blog, a website within only a few minutes. And depending on the topic, you will be very successful, or nobody will ever see it. I'm not talking too much about figures, and I will do it again like in the morning. The good thing with social media, with sharing know-how, is also that you don't have to produce everything yourself. You can do investigation online and so on. And a video I use almost at every social media workshop I'm doing is called the social media revolution. It's combining within 2 minutes all the figures, all the changes you see every couple of months turning over, we're still having growth rates up to 30, 50, 100% within half a year. Let's have a look in these 2 minutes, and then we have more time to talk about non-figures, about society. Well, I think these are quite impressive figures when you get this presented at the very beginning and very compressed. Although almost everybody has access to these figures, what do you think? What are the topics and the reasons why consultants like I am are invited to CEOs of big companies in relation with social media? What do they say to me most of the time?
They don't know how to use social media.
They don't know how to use it? What?
We don't need it.
We don't need it.
They don't understand the importance of social media.
They don't understand the importance. Most of the time, really, like 8 of 10 CEOs come to me and say, there is something on social media I don't like. Can you help me to get it abolished, to get it deleted?
Yeah, I was going to say, 'cause you said something a few minutes ago, which was anybody can do it, and if they put it out there, they can be successful. Or you said they can put it out there, and nobody will see it, they won't be successful. But I think the bigger thing is, you can put it out there, people will see it, and then you won't be successful.
Yeah. So the very first contact with big international companies, with CEOs, and I'm working in Austria, Germany, Switzerland most of the time, so well-developed technical countries with well-developed markets. The CEOs are between 50 and 65 most of the time say, I'm not going to deal with this anymore before I'm going to retire. Yeah? I don't, but they feel something is changing, they feel that it's changing, they feel that they're losing power, and then they're asking for consultants to come in. Most of the time they ask to stop it, and then I have the bad news to tell them, you can't stop it. Yeah? But we can do something around it, we can do something with it, and I'm going to explain it, and I'm doing lectures to CEOs and board members, board of directors of big companies, similar to what we are doing here, today. And the bad news for them quite often is that decision-making processes are changing. Hierarchies are changing within companies, within public institutions, within NGOs, whether you like it or not. It's changing, and you have to adapt. And it's not only you CEO have to adapt, also you communications director have to adapt, you head of legal department have to adapt, you HR boss have to adapt, because everything else around you is going to change. Yeah? People are demanding direct dialogue amongst humans. And this is something completely different what PR agencies and what communications departments have done for many years. I'll go into detail a little bit later. No? We talk to multipliers. We always were reaching out for the A-level people, for the multipliers who are producing media at the very first time, and not communicating with the end user. This changed completely. More and more my job as PR consultant is getting a job of being an ethical nanny to CEOs. It's not anymore talking about how can we communicate, how can we promote, how can we market a product, a service, a company, a brand. It's very often about what not to do anymore, because it doesn't work anymore. Because if this comes to media, to social media, to traditional media, you'll get a problem. To explain to people that transparency is the new money, is the new reputation building force. This changes everything. That's big discussions I have with the heads of legal departments, which I have with the IP protectors in big companies every day. I mentioned it in the morning. In day-to-day communications work, the natural enemy of the PR person is the head of the IT security and the legal department. These are the two people we are struggling all the time when it comes to use, how to use social media, what should be allowed, what shouldn't be allowed for employees, for example, who is going to talk for the company. Very, very interesting. A thing which is tackling our clients, but much more those people who are involved in communications, like the PR people, the advertising people, students in mass communications, etc., is that if you want to be a good PR consultant, your private life and your business life is mixing up completely. And if you want to be a good communications director of a big company, or even of a mid-sized company, your private life and your business life is mixing up, if you want it or not. With the more use, with this more transparency, with this more dialogue at all levels, you can't divide your journalist contacts anymore, your school friend contacts from your client contacts, etc. You have these possibilities to have lists at Facebook, etc. But if you don't do it from the very beginning, the very first day of opening up your Facebook account, you will mess it up. And it's a big source of mistakes. It's really, really dangerous. No? So I always explain to all my colleagues in PR and in the communication departments, when you use Facebook, as soon as you have your first business contact or non-family contact there, it's like speaking to the general public. And we are facing every day company crisis and private crisis, like people lose their jobs and so on, because of doing things wrong at Facebook, posting wrong things, wrong pictures, etc. The C-level people are not happy with these hierarchical changes, of course. They're always fighting against, therefore they're always calling for, make it go away, but not think how they can use it. What does it mean for society in general? What changed this little technical know-how to publish something at the internet? And there is a very good comparison, and a good story from the lions and the ants. How is a school of lions organized, and how is the school, the family, the nation of the ants organized? And very much you see from the lions, that's also how our society used to work for hundreds, some for thousands of years, and how a nation of ants is organized. They talk to each other, they exchange information, and there is only one or two levels of hierarchy. And this changes everything, and social media and these technical opportunities changed where we get our know-how from, how it is updated. Yeah? You see it every day at Wikipedia at university. Yeah? The media landscape is changing. Yeah? We don't have these predominating TV stations anymore. Yeah? And then the daily newspapers, weekly newspapers, monthly newspapers. This is mixed up completely. No? Traditional media lose importance, and other media come up instead. And you have smaller target groups to deal with as PR person. No? We heard and we saw it in the video, word of mouth is much more believed than professional communication, professional marketing, professional advertising. Very bad news for the marketing and for the advertising people. I would say, and I always say, good news for the PR people. If you build up trustworthy relationships, if you get into dialogue, social media is about PR. That this is the whole fight ongoing in all the international PR conferences at the moment. Who is the master, the director, the architect of social media when it comes to a big company? Is it the advertising department, the marketing department, or is it corporate communications? I would say it's corporate communications. But there are people who have different opinions, of course. Schools are reorganized. Conferences are reorganized. I mentioned it in the morning. I'm more and more at conferences where we spend less time inside a room like this and more time outside. Not only during the coffee breaks, but also at our mobile devices, tweeting, chatting about what we just have heard, etc., etc. And the whole data management thing, big data is coming. Big data is changing public relations and what we do with the speed of light at the moment. We have access to data which we never had before. We can use this data to, in favor of our clients, to create interest in products, in companies, in brands, in people, and this is really, really interesting. Yeah? Sharing. Yeah? This is what social media is actually really about. Yeah. And so on and so forth. Everything is changing with the power of social media, and you will find many other fields of life where you feel there is something changing. Even how my kids are communicating with our grandma is changing. She's at WhatsApp 24 hours a day. Yeah, so this is happening. This is happening right now. What do I tell the CEOs who said make it go away? I say it doesn't go away. Point one, and point two. Be also honest to your clients. Tell them there are advantages, but there are also lots of disadvantages you have to cope with. Yeah? You'll never be successful as social media consultant or as PR consultant when you just tell about the blue sky within social media. No? Very important is for me that those people who don't participate, they are only affected by the disadvantages. And then the CEOs start to think, what does this mean? Okay? Because everybody said to me, I don't care about Facebook, I don't care about LinkedIn because I'm not in it. I'm not using it. And you can take every brand of the world nowadays, you will find Facebook pages about it, you will find Xing, LinkedIn groups about it, and so on. And when you show this, they're coming to you with the big eyes. When we talk about society, it's also really important to know, particularly here in Eastern Europe, that having access to social media is something what has to do with democracy, with freedom of speech, and it's also the task of the PR people to defend freedom of speech. These are all the Facebook connections. It's a bit not so good to see, but these are all the Facebook connections all over the world. Yeah? And you see big dark places. Yeah? Not only in Africa, where it's an infrastructural question, yeah? But also China, Russia, etc., yeah? Where Facebook is forbidden, where it's blocked, where other platforms were developed which are under control of the government. So it's really a special thing we have that we can communicate. And there are so many countries at the moment where people go to jail because they tweeted something wrong. This is something students in mass communication should never forget, that this has value, that this is changing society and not only our business. What is the interaction between social media and traditional media? Online versus print newspapers, for example. There were three things I have identified which are important for the day-to-day work as a PR consultant. More and more social media is the prime source for journalists. Every crisis, every good story has been online, at a tweet, at a Facebook page, at Pinterest, wherever, 2, 3, 4 days, most of the time it's about 2 days before it goes to print media, before it comes to prime news at the TV. So this is what's changed very much. Very often, social media in the other direction is an amplifier for things which have been reported in traditional media. So you reach even more people over a longer time with things taken out of traditional media into social media. And number 3 will vanish very soon, but still it's trendy to be on social media, and social media itself is the content to be reported in traditional media. So when you do a great project at Facebook, media will report about it. So it's sort of self-referring media landscape. When you have a great competition at Facebook, media will report about it. When you mobilize people via Twitter for a demonstration, there are as many newspapers reporting about the content of the demonstration as they are reporting that the whole thing was organized via Twitter. This is still a sensation. This will vanish and become normal soon. But it's still there, at least in the countries I'm working with. I wanted to kick it out, this slide from the morning, but Alexander said I should let it in because it's a funny story. I had a private story how to all the points I just mentioned to you. How is it changing your life? How is it tackling the borders between private life and business life? And what can happen in a good sense? But if it just twists a little bit different, it could be a major problem for you. And I had such a situation 2 years ago in summer. Can you see it? Yeah. I flew home from Egypt, and there was a mother with 2 babies sitting next to me, and the flight attendant was coming and saying, "Oh, you're traveling alone with 2 babies? That's forbidden by international flight rules. You're only allowed to have 1 baby under 2 years with you. Otherwise, you need a second person keeping and holding the baby." So the whole flight was delayed because this woman had to leave the plane again. There was a big turmoil on the plane ongoing in Cairo, you can imagine. And I wanted to come home as well, so I said to the flight attendant, "I have 2 kids myself. I take the kid for the whole flight on my lap, and hopefully we can leave the airport now." There was a discussion ongoing as well because it's the little son, the little prince of an Egyptian family. So you don't give it normally your baby to some stranger, but she did, and we flew. And during the flight, my neighbor took the picture, posted it on Facebook. I reposted it directly at the gate, just explaining my wife why I'm traveling with a baby which is not mine, sitting with. And I had the wrong friendship list. It was posted publicly. And I went to sleep. I was at home in the evening. I went to sleep, and in the next morning, that happened. And this is 2 years ago now. So this was really the picture with the most likes in Austria on Facebook at the time. Until Red Bull Stratus Jump came, this was the picture with the most likes. And what happened then? The whole thing was getting out of control. Although I'm a PR expert, it was getting out of control. And I learned a lot. This was my personal 1 week of social media seminar. Now what happened? You see 34,000 likes, 76 comments at my direct page, and 910 forwards shares of the photo. At the time where I had like 500 Facebook friends. Good. What happened? The next day, the prime radio station was calling. The 3 biggest newspapers were just stealing the picture from Facebook and making their own story, pretending I have given them an interview. They made up an interview with me, with my Facebook comments, where I explained what happened there. They made their own interview and printed it. So it was all over Austria. It was online. This is the webpage of the second largest Austrian newspaper. And then I got into trouble. I'm in the board of the Austrian PR Association, together with the communications director of Austrian Airlines, who is not only a colleague, who is a dear friend of mine by now. He called me and said, "What have you done?" They are all calling me, they're all complaining about our flight attendants, that we want to kick off babies. You could have called me personally, etc., etc. And I said, I haven't said anything wrong. This is how it was. I know it's international rules. I didn't complain about the behavior of the flight attendants at all. But they had a huge company crisis, because kicking baby off of plane is not really sympathetic for an airline, although it's an international rule. And I had to give, then the radio was calling, and I had to give an interview in the prime news of the morning radio show in Austria to explain, I did this for my friend, to explain that the flight attendants worked completely correctly according to the IATA rules, etc., etc. And this went on for a week. I was out of business for 1 week. I couldn't even open my Facebook pages anymore, because I had so many, mostly young women, who were looking for friendship with me on Facebook, that I couldn't open their page anymore. The story was going viral all over the world. I got friendship requests from South America, Russia, Asia, etc. And I couldn't work anymore. And I was running at the time, now there are more, but at the time I was running 15 professional Facebook pages for my clients, and I couldn't open them anymore because it was reloading all the time with comments. And even people at the street, old women at the street, were hugging me and saying, "You are the one who saved the baby." And so really a big story. And I really started to think about what is if something like that happens, with something which is not that sympathetic than saving the flight of a baby. If somebody posts a picture of you with something you don't want to see at Facebook. So I learned a lot. But really interesting was, and nobody has done a study on that before, there were like overnight 34,000 likes on that picture, just with going viral overnight. And then there was 1 week of heavy reports in all daily newspapers, in the prime radio, and once again in the Sunday news, with having my picture with the baby on the boxes of the Sunday newspaper selling stations. Only 2,000 likes were added to the 34,000, which only came from viral. And this was a very important learning for me, and I checked it with other campaigns as well. You don't have to promote social media via traditional media. This is gone. It doesn't bring anything. You lose like 95% of all your contacts, if not more. So if you do something online, you can communicate online, you have to promote it online, you have to explain it online. There is almost nothing coming anymore from traditional media. Doesn't make any sense to have billboards saying go to that link or go to that Facebook page. Doesn't move people at all. This was very interesting. So, after this short personal episode, really important for us is that TV is losing importance day by day. What you can do with TV, you can do with YouTube, even cheaper. And in Austria, I haven't had the figures in, but we have 8 million inhabitants in Austria and 3.8 million active Facebook accounts. So you have a better outreach than any TV news via that. This is how I learned what PR and communications is and what the role of media in society is. This is the so-called gatekeeping concept, that there are sources communicating with professional, educated journalists which function in society as a sort of gatekeeper in checking and rechecking news for their readers, for their audience. And for many years, the sources, which are companies, PR agencies, other political sources, were just interacting with journalists. And we were all trained for years how to impress journalists. We were not trained how to impress the people at the street as PR person. We were just trained how to impress journalists, how to make up stories which are interested for a journalist. And now within only a few years, I would say in Austria it's within the last 5 years, it's not longer in Austria, it changed to that. And this was also a question I had in the morning. Nowadays the sources, the PR people, the communicators are contacting directly the people from the street, getting into direct dialogue. You send out a press release, which is actually meant for journalists. 5 minutes later, you get a posting at Facebook, somebody saying that's not true at all. I know the company for 20 years, I have been working there, that's not true at all. This is something which wasn't technically possible even 5 years ago. Now it is. A press release was going to a journalist, maybe to a press agency, and it was just published to a closed circle of decision makers and multipliers. Now, with the public news feeds, you find it everywhere. The users, the audience talks back to the journalist, gives information, and this is the struggle we have every day now. We still have to convince journalists that we have a good story, because most of the clients only love the printed story still. But most of the time goes into direct communications, dialogue, direct feedback you get. When you do something wrong, you get it back immediately. And I have big clients who shifted their budgets. For example, eBay in Austria. There has been a report about it, so I'm allowed to talk about it. eBay shifted 50% of its communication budget within the last 3 years into social media. Not because they were so convinced that they need social media outside of their own platform, which is one of the strongest visited news websites in Austria as well, just because they were forced. Because there were so many requests coming in via Facebook. They found out that 75% of the people nowadays visiting eBay come with forwarding links from Facebook in Austria. So they have to be there, they had to shift their budgets. And if you as PR consultant or as agency don't have any competence in social media, this budget is gone forever. You can work for 15 years for a client, and with that 50% of your budget is at a trendy social media agency who says that they know how Facebook works. So this is the change all the PR agencies are going through sooner or later, because the users have taken over the control about what is a topic, what is not a topic. The whole blogger topic, I can't go into detail here now, but we struggle every day with the relationship of really traditionally educated, ethical, correct journalists and bloggers, private journalists, who have a hidden agenda from classical media, from traditional media. And we have to serve both, because bloggers are cool, stories are liked by our clients. And we are fighting every day with maniacs. One-person maniacs who want to change the world via a blog, or via calling the telephone hotline, or via posting at the Facebook page of a company day by day. They're nonsense. And what changed for the people in customer care, and PR is getting very much into customer care nowadays as well, which was not our field of work before. One person, one posting, one tweet, one Facebook page, one blog, one online petition can really wreck a complete company, a complete brand, a product, whatever. And we changed monitoring, for example, completely. We are not doing average monitoring on customer satisfaction anymore. This is nonsense. The average customer satisfaction value, it's every single client. If you have one who smashes down the phone and goes to a blog and writes about it, it's the one who makes the difference. And it's empowering single persons. Sometimes they are trolls, sometimes they are right with what they ask. And in society, this means that a small group of people can change the world, if you see it positive. But a small group of people can also get attention for a thing they would have never got attention before, when you had journalists as gatekeepers, who checked and rechecked to ask for relevance and so on. So this is a big problem we have, that lots of our time and money goes into talking to people who wouldn't have got any relevance 5 years ago. Much of power goes into that field. It changes society, it changes democratic systems, because the opponents of the rulers, wherever they are coming from, have more power and get more attention in social media than the rulers who are in power already. So it's not completely even weighted anymore. This is really interesting to work with. Maniacs can make real problems for communication directors. And all the maniacs you have in society like to find other people who think like them. Look at this stupid tweet, and I made the screenshot I think half an hour after the tweet was posted, and you had within half an hour or 1 hour 6,300 retweets. So people said, yes, I'm gonna share that, and 4,500 favorites. This is just an example of what's going on with maniacs, with trolls, as we call it in social media. And there is a communication director who has to deal with that. If this happens to your company, to your brand, not only to your politician, you have to deal with that. You have to react, and this is binding resources. This is really important as well. I had this in the morning, and some people were laughing, and it's always a laugh. This is what my clients are calling me for as well. There are so many applications, so many social media platforms. Please tell me how we can make money out of it. And I always say during these lectures, if I would know this, I wouldn't be here. I would be diving in Egypt or something. What all we PR people are doing and are talking about at the moment is that. How can we sort of manage reputation with social media and despite social media. This is what we are dealing all the day with. And there are certain examples where companies, mostly the app producers, mobile app producers at the moment, earn money, but they don't earn money in most of the cases with the business process of the app. They earn money with selling the company who produced the app. This is where the money is coming from at the moment. But there are examples, I brought it in the morning, like I'm working for the City Spa of Vienna, and we use social media to inform when there is a jam at the cashier. So we are doing negative communication, saying, don't come right now, it's Sunday, 10 o'clock in the morning, whole Vienna wants to go to the spa, if you come now, it's 25 minutes waiting time. And then you get likes, and they say, thank you for the information, I'm going for a coffee. I'm having a longer breakfast now. If you don't do it yourself, somebody in the queue will take the photo and post it for you with a different sentence beneath it. So we increase customer satisfaction. I bring the spa example as the second one because it's so down to earth. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday afternoon, there are less guests in the spa. We have now 34,000 followers at the Facebook page of the City Spa. We post, no people in the spa today. It's good if you want to come with your darling. And everybody who comes between 2 and 3 gets a free coffee. 25 minutes later, you see it. There's a queue at the cashier again. It works. It really works because we reach 34,000, 50%. We are monitoring this 50%. We reach a little bit more than 50% at the mobile devices. And if 1% of the 50% comes, we have a queue again, half an hour later or an hour later. So this works. Changing society, changing the work is also, it's all about first contact. The problem we have is that all who offer professional services, not only PR people, but also doctors, etc., face the problem, even the car sellers, face the problem that the consumer is in many cases better informed than the seller of a product. If you decide today to buy a car, your first car, you will read every website, every discussion about this car, and then full with information you will enter the car seller place, and you will find out the person who sells the car doesn't know as much as you do because he has to sell cars. He has no time to read all the comments about the car. Yeah? We're working for big pharma companies who have the problems that the people come to the doctors for the very first time and say, I have cancer right here. Yeah? Yeah? And it's the new cancer which just has been discovered at the last conference in Gatekeeping 3 months ago. Yeah? It hasn't been published in Austria, but I know it. Yeah? This is a new situation of customer care you're finding out. No? That people decide before they go to a shop, before they contact a company, before they vote for a political party, they decide everything on their own, or with a few friends they are in contact with via Twitter, Facebook, and so on. So they get a really limited sphere of information also, no? Because when you're active in different social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, etc., yeah, you only read what your friends have already read or what your friends are promoting. Yeah? It's very, very difficult to get a real picture of the world because you just get reassurance of what you know anyhow. Yeah? That you have the same opinion as your friends like it. Yeah? And we also found out that CEOs, for example, critical CEOs only read the newspapers which promote their business opinion. Yeah? CEOs of big national and international companies normally don't read liberal newspapers. No? They just read their own stuff because the others write what they don't believe. So, and finally, crisis communication. Crisis communication is that what brings money to PR consultants because the clients don't ask for hourly rates or don't ask for coming to a pitch for 3 months because they call you at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and say, do you have time at 7 for a dinner? I have a problem. Yeah? And this got even better with social media because there is a permanent crisis for everybody ongoing. Yeah? What's happening? When you do monitoring in social media, you find negative comments about every brand, about every CEO, about every political party all the time. And your task is to react on that complaints below the traditional media to prevent that it comes up to a public crisis. Yeah? And when it comes up, it's for 2 days, a maximum of 2 weeks. There is no crisis existing apart from wars, of course, but there's no company crisis existing which is longer than 2 weeks in traditional media. The newspapers have to write something else. They can't bother their readers every day with the same story. Yeah? But it stays online. Yeah? And this is what we have every day. Yeah? A new CEO coming to a new country, opening a new store, first one-to-one interview, and the journalist, what is lazy, goes to Google the first page, yeah? And you are confronted with the scandal of 5 years ago. Yeah? If you haven't communicated in between properly. So we are facing that problem very much, and we are facing, because of that, how to influence that, how to bring it from the first Google page to the third Google page, which the journalists don't read anymore. There is a big coal mining, gold mining atmosphere in PR agencies as well. No? And we just had, over the last weeks, a big scandal in Austria where journalists found out that there are PR agencies in Austria who pay brigades of students to communicate at discussion panels online. And there was one agency found out, which was not member of the Austrian PR Association, for God's sake. Yeah? They had 1,200 students at their payroll with each, average, not each, but average, 120 different online accounts for commenting on press releases, on reports of the opponents of their clients. From political opponents to competitors in basically every industry. Yeah? And this was one big company, and then they found out that there are 10 other smaller PR companies who are doing this from the other side. So like 90% what you could read at Austrian discussion panels was produced by PR agents. Yeah? So that's not good for the credibility of PR people, of course. And we changed it now. It's forbidden in Austria. And people are going to talk to each other with real names. So our member organizations have to sign that when they are communicating professionally, paid for their clients, they have to do it with their real names, online and offline. So there's no anonymous PR consultant commenting something online at Facebook or at Twitter. You have to do it with real name. We just changed this last month. And finally, the most important thing is it doesn't matter what technique is behind. Yeah? Even when you are doing it professionally, every half a year you could lock yourself into a room for 2 months to look at all the new apps which are there, which were not there half a year ago. No? But more and more you find out it's about people communicating with people. It's nobody wants to talk with the PR director, nobody wants to talk with the brand officer of a company. They want to talk with the people in charge, with the people responsible for the good things and responsible for crises and problems. And this is what we are doing as PR people every day, to bring these people out of the second, third, fourth level of a company to the front, to train them how to communicate. For example, human resource officers, their life changed completely. They were trained for decades now to have one-to-one interviews, and never ever what was said in a one-to-one interview made it to mass media. Nowadays there are rating platforms everywhere, and 10 minutes later it's posted they treat applicants like shit. Don't go there, don't work there. We have companies in Austria who don't find any employees anymore because of the bad ratings at such platforms. So life is changing for everybody, not only for the PR people. So and this was my short or long input. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm here now to answer all your questions on the social media topics, but you read it on Facebook. I'm active in different civil society projects, different communication internet projects, so you can ask me more or less everything you want.
Any questions?
Saying Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, and he said that he would be called and asked to alleviate this problem, right? How actually do you handle the situation?
Well, in my agency, we only delete posts at Facebook pages we are working with. For example, when it's breaking a law, or if somebody is personally insulted, or it's a threat towards an employee of our client or of our agency. That's the only thing when we delete tweets or posts. With all the others, we normally, and this is the best trick you can do as PR person, get them out of social media. So we normally post our real telephone numbers, our real email address, and say, we are sorry, we have to check if this is true or not. Please call me at this extension number, I'm the responsible for this issue. And so you can stop the discussion at Facebook and bring it to a telephone level and try to solve it there. This is the strategy we use most of the time, and it works. It takes a lot to convince the client to work like that, because nobody wants the name of the product designer at Facebook, for example, and the email address of the product designer, but we never ever had an abuse of these telephone numbers or these email addresses. So they are just used by the person, although you post it publicly, because normally you don't have the real name of the people complaining.
Follow up to that. So say hypothetically, you personally are not allowed to turn down anybody who calls for help. What if Amanda Bynes called you and said, help me, fix this? What would you do?
I didn't get the question really. Who's calling me?
Amanda Bynes. She called Barack and Michelle.
Yeah.
She calls you up. You're not allowed to turn down any clients.
Yeah.
She says, help me. What would you do?
Well, most of the time I'm going to explain the clients the situation, what this is, how it's distributed, and what we can do. Most of the time in social media, humor and being a little bit cynic is the best thing to react. More humor than being cynical, because cynicism is often misunderstood. But to take it with a joke. Barack Obama has been at Jimmy Kimmel last week. Have you seen it? Reading tweets like that to the general public. That's exactly the way how you deal with it and how you get sympathy back. Although you have lots of other problems in your back. When it comes to more serious things like that, when you have somebody posting, all smart cars have an engine brake, and the laptop, my Apple laptop, I had it repaired 2 weeks ago because the main board was grilled. and I had to pay 890 euro for a new mainboard because it's two years old. Yeah, and then I found out that there's a repair program, yeah, starting next week, because all mainboards are grilled of this series. The Apple dealer didn't tell me. Yeah? Yeah? Of course I posted it publicly, and of course 100 other people said I had exactly the same. Yeah? In the same week my mainboard has been grilled, there must be something behind. Why are all the mainboards burning down 2 years, exactly after 2 years when the guarantee is gone? This is transparency. This is being discussed, and Apple is the first company worldwide, yeah, who has an extension program now for a company, for a computer which is actually altogether 5 years old. They pay now all the mainboards for a 5-year-old computer. You will find out, because they have such a big problem of not informing the people in time that there is a problem upcoming. Yeah? This is since 2 years now. Mainboards are going burned down. Right? So it's all about trust, and the currency you have as PR guy is trust and reputation. This is what you must have yourself, and this is what you are selling and creating for your clients. Né? And don't do anything what you wouldn't do to your sister, to your brother, and to your wife. This is what you can tell the CEOs. Yeah?
According to you, what is on social media that has a lot of potential, but the potential is not revealed yet? For example, Pinterest or Snapchat or something.
Well, what I find out, I'm also watching very closely what my kids are doing. Eh? My kids are 15 and 18, and their social media behavior is, although coming from the same cultural background, from the same country, completely different than mine. Eh? So there is no single answer to that question. For example, Facebook is overpotent in Austria, while Twitter is weak in Austria, and in the UK it looks completely different, in America it looks completely different. So it's really about target groups. It's more and more about small target groups. And this is also how PR strategy is changing at the moment. In former times, the clients were only paying how to reach the A-level income in society. This is who we want to reach, and the others, maybe. Now, they come, and we have the technical opportunities to do so. They come and say, I want to talk to the 60-plus I-class wearer who will buy a car in the next 2 years, or in the next 2 months better, because I'm not CEO in 2 years anymore. Therefore, I need to sell the cars right now. This is the situation we have now, and we do have access to those people. Twitter, Facebook, and so on, they are selling exactly that data to agencies. So you know, I'm just working for an Austrian bank. They make Facebook advertising and Facebook content just for people who founded within the last half year their own business in different industries. And they defined, we want to talk to these 5 industries now. And they have no spillover of advertising costs. They're just talking to those people they offer a special bank account for. So, and my son, for example, is on Pinterest and on hearts. He doesn't communicate it in SMS anymore. He just communicates in sending hearts. And every morning he gets 20 hearts from somebody, and I don't know what's going on. And he's always hijacking my iTunes account. And when I type something at my laptop, I get all hearts all the time, because he has abbreviation for everything which is a heart. So you have to analyze that. It's much about data analysis, how do I reach the target group, and what also changes our work is, normally we developed a long-term PR strategy for 1 or 2 years, and after half a year we started to analyze if it works, and the real report to the client was going after 1 year, 14 months, when we talk about the budget for the next year. This changed completely. You have real-time monitoring. After every press release you can see how many reports do you have, who clicked the newsletter, who not, why don't we reach that and that and that. So this changed completely, and what we are doing is testing now. It's trial and error. I have a friend who runs a big online platform for a newspaper. They use, for example, their online newspaper to check the headlines for the print issue for the next day. So they change, they have their report in the evening online already with a headline, and they monitor exactly how many people are clicking the report with that or that headline. Yeah? And that headline which gets the most clicks gets to the real paper which is printed. The same is done with my clients, for example, with TV ads. They're still doing TV ads to have the exposure, of course, but they are producing, because the production is getting cheaper and cheaper, they are doing 3 different videos, posted on Facebook and different platforms, and those with the much likes gets the expensive exposure at TV. Yeah, the other 2 are thrown away. Yeah? Yeah. And 5 years ago, you got the evaluation of your TV spot half a year after it was published. Yeah? This is really changed. Yeah? And this was also a question this morning. Yeah? We need completely different people with different education, with different know-how in PR agencies than we did 5 years ago. 5 years ago, good consultant, good writing skills, good presentation skills. Yeah? And I just lost a couple of employees because they said, I'm not playing with Facebook, I'm a consultant. Yeah? You don't need such people anymore, but you will find them at Ernst & Young, at McKinsey and so on, but they don't have any future. Yeah? Yeah? PR consultants who say, I'm not doing answering posts at Facebook, fire them. Yeah? You can't use them. It's not my idea. That's what I found out. I really had consultants who refused to post a short version of a press release at Facebook, for example, or make a tweet out of it. No? Yeah. They're looking for job now. Okay.
Well, I'm interested in your educational background and how did you grow career-wise, and also can you talk a little bit about job opportunities in the PR industry?
Well, my personal career is completely unusual, and it's not. Yeah? I was the first university lecturer at the University of Vienna, mass communications, who never saw a university from inside before becoming a professional lecturer there and a professor. Yeah? So I did different educations before. No? I did the carpenter education. We talked about this before. My very first education was a carpenter education. Yeah? During being a carpenter, I went to the social academy and became a youth and social worker. And I was 9 years active in the youth and social work area. In Austria, I worked with students. I was the director of a student dormitory. Yeah? And I became an Austrian youth representative towards the European Union. I was elected as vice president of the European Youth Council, like 25 years ago. Yeah? And so I came into the institutions, the Council of Europe, the EU, and then I was sent to the United Nations, to New York, as being a European youth representative there, preparing the International Year of Youth of the United Nations. No? And then I came back to Europe and did an intercultural education as intercultural trainer. I was very much active in Central and Eastern Europe, training new leaders in democracy. And then I was campaign director at the Council of Europe for the European Year Against Racism and Intolerance. And there I had the idea, we need to read something about the projects we are funding in the real media. And I called PR agencies to come to my campaign office, and they presented themselves. And then I worked with PR agencies for altogether 4 years doing this campaign, which were really a big success. And when the campaign budget was gone, one of the PR agencies asked me if I don't like to change the site. Yeah, and I'm the major owner of this PR agency now. This was the short version. And in between, I had an internet company founded together with 2 friends, which merged into the PR company in the year 2000. So this is my personal thing. So something completely out of the academic way and role, and also something completely different from people we have hired for many years in the agency scene in Austria. No? Nowadays, and this is what has something to do with social media, but also with other demands of clients, we look more and more for people who have been active in real industry, in the real world, before they started to think about journalism or communications. Yeah? When you have to answer posts about products, about questions, about companies, you need to know something about the industry. You need to know more about the industry than a PR consultant needed to know in the past. When we do surveys amongst our clients, we find out, and I thought they are stupid for many years, but now I understand it. We always got, what do you expect from your PR consultant in the agency? And we had like 9 out of 10 points. He should know about media relations and public relations. Yeah? And he should know about my very own industry, 10 points. And we said, okay, you should know about your industry. We are the communication experts. You know? We should know about our industry and we should work together. But this changed completely. So, and I'm also just creating an educational program for industry experts of different industries who want to change into communications, who have a severe education in techniques, in whatever, and come into communications in PR afterwards. These are the people we are looking at the moment. Or we're looking for people who start communications like you do, who go into the real world, do a real job in a real industry, not only in the communication department, and come back as consultants then. This is really important. I don't take people anymore who have studied mass communications, did an MBA in communications, and 3 other courses, and then want to become senior consultant when they are 25. This is what I had over the last years. No success. Yeah. Because these are the people who are coming out of the 3rd MBA program with 25, 27, yeah, and say, okay, I want to earn like 5,000 euro net, yeah, and I'm not posting on Facebook because I'm a consultant. Yeah. This is the sort of example. So we're just changing this. No? We want to have crossover programs, no, of industry experts changing into PR and vice versa. This is what we're just working on in the PR organization as well.
Well, a small follow-up to what you just said. So a deduction would be that if we want to go into the PR industry, getting an MBA now would make no sense because it's changed so much in the past 5 years that probably the academic environment didn't change fast enough. So we should go straight into the workplace and not spend time on getting an MBA.
It depends what I see at the client sides in the communication departments of my clients. No? You never have a chance to hit the communication department when you don't have one MBA. When we talk about big international companies. So with my non-formal education, I would never have a chance, or never have had a chance to become a communications director in the industry. So life in industry and in the private business really is tougher than it has been 10 or 20 years ago. No? So, and if my kids ask me, do I have to do a full grade study, do I have to do an MBA before I go for 1 year making dive master in Egypt, I would say yes, of course. Otherwise you don't have a chance, you will find the right salary category in international businesses or even in public institutions. No? So the world is changing all the time. Yeah? But when you want to be a good consultant in whatever field, yeah, you have to have experience outside of your core area as well. Otherwise, you are just a nerd in your area, yeah, and not an expert who can consult. And what I mentioned before is I'm more and more an ethical nanny to CEOs. I can be that, and I'm successful in that field because I have worked for the Council of Europe. I know human rights, I know ethics. I have worked for the United Nations, all in fields which had nothing to do with communications. Yeah, but with human rights, etc., etc. Yeah? And this is a sort of specialization I created myself. No? And nowadays I'm looking for people who are active in the student union, yeah? Who organize demonstrations. Yeah? You don't find a short-term MBA finisher who never has been active in any student movement who can organize demonstrations via Twitter. But that's what we need. Yeah? We need people who can organize mass movements via Twitter. Yeah? Those are the people PR agencies need in the future. No? It's all about mobilization. Yeah? How do you get the people at the street? How do you get the people to vote? How do you get the people to buy something, to enroll?
What's your hashtag? You have one, a personal hashtag you like to use?
Thanks for that. If you want to stay in contact, even after the evening, I have a very open a very open Facebook page which is used for communication issues and also for shark pictures because I'm an underwater photographer I mentioned, and that's my Twitter account. No? I'm not doing much more social media platforms. I'm doing that two very active, and the others just for testing.
I just tweeted one.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Good. Maybe we could dig deeper in career stuff. What's your advice for the students? Because most of them will apply for a job in the field after the graduation here. How can they be more visible, more competitive in online in order to be more visible on the job market?
Yeah. Test social media. No? If I get job applicants and I Google them and I don't find anything about them, yeah, they can't become even a junior consultant in my agency. No? Run your own blog, and if you just post your holiday pictures, but do something. Try to do it. Have a Facebook page. No? Produce a little website, a microsite as application paper. I don't need your ring file. This is what I tell the people. If I don't find anything about the people online, they are not existing for me. Because I can't use them. Somebody who has not a single posting, not a single Google link, if you look for their name, can't be online savvy. That's impossible. No? Maybe with the exception when you are a private detective and you don't want to be found by somebody. No? This is maybe an exception. Or you're working in crisis communications only. No? But all the other things, get your own publications. It's so easy to publicize nowadays. If the people who want to work in communications didn't publicize anything before applying at an agency, they are in the wrong industry. Make your own brochures, your own blog, your own PDF files, online, discuss with people, state your opinion. And important, of course, even with the youngsters we take in the agency, it's a big discussion in the PR industry in Austria, but look for interns, internships. We pay for internships, we don't have unpaid internships, other agencies don't pay anything, but look for internships in agencies, but also at the potential clients. I'm most impressed if I find somebody who doesn't finish his or her study in the minimum time, but takes twice as long, but has worked every summer holiday at the company which I would like to have as client. This is how you get a job. Get an intern at BMW and then go to a PR agency who has no car manufacturer as client. You will get the job.
Sounds smart.
You don't do it?
Are you hiring? Can you take some of our interns or students as an intern? Maybe one or two?
Since I'm at the University of Vienna as lecturer as well, I'm telling you what we do. I always had the problem that I had the last semester as lecturer in mass communications, and all the good students were gone. Because all the good students were taken out by my fellow professors in the first and the second semester. Because normally you see at the very beginning who is a talent, who can be developed, and all the people were gone. So I changed my semester now. Or my agency changed the semester to a more earlier stage of the university program. But we have all the time 2 interns which are paid who work for half a year. When they are already doing their postgraduate in mass communications. But they work in our back office. They work in our back office and learn how an agency is managed. They cut clippings. They make reports, they make analysis. And only those who are not good enough for themselves to do this for half a year have a chance in an agency. 50% dropout rate. You're not using my potential. No, I'm not doing that. No? That's what we see.
We heard
That's
more
what.
than 10% last year from our interns. So
Okay,
more than welcome.
But But the problem is in a German-speaking country, this also changed only over the last 3 years, I would say. No? It was impossible at an Austrian PR agency to hire somebody who is not a German native speaker. Yeah? It wasn't even possible for many years to hire somebody from Germany to work in an Austrian PR agency. Yeah? Because they speak only a little different and they write only a little different, but the journalists would recognize that this is a text from a German person, not from an Austrian person. This is changing now a lot because so many people are leaving Germany at the moment and going to universities in Austria because they are still for free in Austria. And you don't have a numerus clausus in Austria, so everybody who doesn't get a place in Germany comes to Austria at the moment. And so we have the interns from Germany. We have 2 interns from Germany at the moment. So this is getting more international amongst the German-speaking countries.
Have you ever had anyone not German or Austrian? Like they are
Well, we have people, because I'm active in that field very much, given my past. We have people with migrant background, but they are all absolvents of schools in Austria, because we need perfect language skills, perfect texting skills, and we have somebody with a Turkish family background. We have two with German family background. We have one with Indian background in our small agency with only 22 people. No? So we are doing something in that area and taking it by a planned decision to integrate migrant communities in our agency as well. But it's really difficult. It's really difficult when you don't have perfect language skills. When you work on high-end level, of course. Finished? Good? No. Any questions? Any more?
Any other questions before close the session? Okay, sorry.
Do you have any questions?
Very good questions.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different culture.
Yeah, but what I wanted to say, you are lucky that you are in such a university. No? I'm in the University of Vienna, and a building in mass communications which is only 5 years old. It's not half as nice as the facilities you have here. They are working, studying 12,000 students. We have 300 students per professor in Vienna. So you're really lucky. You're really lucky to be here, and I'm quite impressed what I saw here today. No? This is what I wanted to mention here. No? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the invitation again, and as I mentioned before, if you want me again next year or else, I'm coming again.
This program is brought to you by AUBGTalks. For more, please visit us at aubg.edu/talks.